and welcome back to Tech Week in Frankfurt. You're with me, Natalie Turner from Disruptive Live, and today I am joined by this lovely lady, Michaela Sorrentino.
Yes.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Michaela Sorrentino. She is the founder of Project Gnosis. Now, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Fantastic. So, Project Gnosis, I mean, this is new to me. I'm sure it is to some of our viewers as well. Tell us about it. What is it?
Project Gnosis is an ed tech company that we started in 2013. It was with the intention to teach children how to read and write computer programming languages, and we came up with this idea to use a gamification platform because the best way that children know how to learn is through play. And since video games are all the rage, we thought let's try and lure them in with something that they're very familiar with. And so that's basically how it all started. And
so before the camera started rolling, you were telling me about your kids and how you asked them about, Yes. So
okay.
Tell me about the journey, like how
the very first part was I came up with an idea to develop an app. It was during the time when everyone was doing this and making millions. And so I approached my kids and I wanted them to develop an app for me. And it was basically just a geography app that families could play in cars when they're on road trips, identifying the license plates and then having sort of trivia behind it where we would ask what's the population, where is the country located, what's the nation's capital, just something like that. So it was an educational idea so families could integrate together instead of always being separate on their little devices. And unfortunately, my kids just looked at me and laughed and went, yeah, I don't think so. And I said, what do you mean you don't think so? And they said, well, we don't know how to develop apps. And I said, well, don't they teach you these things at school? And then they laughed and they said, Mom, we don't even have internet in school. So I thought, well, how is this possible? I mean, everybody's running around with their devices and they're playing all the time and they're using it. They're using new softwares that are coming out. How is it possible that my children don't know how to create something themselves? And then I went and I looked online to see if there were any programs, maybe after school programs or something available for them to learn, and there was nothing. So being Canadian, we happened to be going home that summer and I found a computer programming camp that I enrolled my children in, which was very expensive. And at the time, I myself knew nothing about coding. I didn't even know the word coding. This was the beginning of the journey. So they went to this camp, and for 1 week, they learned how to create their own video game. And when they were done, and I asked them, so how was it? They said it was boring. And then I said, well, would you be able to, make now a video game? Like, now can we do the app? And they're, no. So I was really surprised. And at that point, when we came back to Germany, this is where we live now, I decided to do a little more research, and I was shocked to realize that there were absolutely no platforms, not online or not, physically, like physical clubs that they could go to learn how to engage with technology in a more intelligent
way. So you wanted to
way.
Create something, a fun, innovative way for children to learn in a more creative way.
And so at that time, I'm just extremely passionate about all things education. So I began to do my research, and as I was saying earlier to you, I met somebody who was a programmer, and I told him about my idea, and he said, cool, all right, let me try. So that's how it all began, and before we knew it, the whole platform just kind of got bigger and bigger because I realized that there were no schools anywhere in Germany and there were no schools in Canada at the time, and certainly it was just around the time when Hour of Code started in the United States, where they put this whole movement on to try and get kids to learn how to code. Now, unfortunately, since then, nothing has really progressed in the sense that a lot of new technologies, ed tech toys have been created where they use drag and drop software programs. Robotics became something really important and really sort of in the front line because kids love to play with toys. And what happened was they were just getting more interface with different types of technology. They weren't actually learning how to be computer literate, which is learning how to read and write computer programming languages. Drag and drop software, while it's a very important, step within the whole educational process, that isn't computer literacy. That is just interfacing with another intelligent software that allows them to be creative, but it doesn't actually make them an innovator of technology, a driver of technology. And since then, I've seen more and more sort of ed tech tools come out, but not anyone creating a single curriculum to teach kids from kindergarten to the end of grade 12, the entire process, how to develop the analytic mindset in order to ready themselves to learn how to write lines of code when that part of their development is finished. And that typically doesn't start before 12 or 13 years of age. So not a lot of people are, the reason why we're here is to try and shine a spotlight on there is a huge gap between what happens in technology, what happens in the industry, and what happens in education. And I think the gap just started growing and growing and growing because everybody is so busy developing, they're not thinking about the bottom end. And one of the things that's being highlighted even here at Tech Week is that there's not enough people out there to fill the positions that are currently happening. And this is a big problem, and the longer we wait, the worse the problem will become. So let me give you an example. Today, in 2019, it might be a little bit higher, but doubtfully, only 0.003% of the world's population actually know how to read and write computer programming language. Wow. That means we live in a world of total computer illiterates, all of us. And I think there's several different factors as to why that is. Part of it is political, part of it is just nobody's really paying attention to it, and part of it, is the government, is the education. There's not a lot of funding that goes into education, and they're all seeing how expensive the development of this technology is, and so they're, a little bit like, okay, how are we going to do this? And typically, computer programmers or people who are proficient in that area, they go and study what they need to work in the industry. They're not going and studying it so they go back into school and teach it to kids. So this is where we saw a really big gap in the market, and since then we have basically been working and researching and building our product or our curriculum. And I'm very proud to say that a couple of days ago we won our first award from UCL in London. We're members of a program called Educate, and they are a dedicated global education research initiative for EdTech specifically, how we can impact the educational world in order to prepare kids to be ready for 21st century living, sustainable living. And I'm hoping that the IT industry will begin to step up to the plate and understand that for everything that's given to them, for their products and their development, it's time for us as a community, as a digital community, to give back to the kids, because education really is the final frontier. And at the end of the day, we're in big trouble if we don't do something about it now. So this is sort of why we're here, spreading the word, spreading the message, and hoping that people will come forward and support us in any way that they can. We've done it in such a way that it's extremely affordable and it's very realistic, but we're a very small company, and we need sort of one of our cornerstones is that it takes a village to raise a child. So we're asking the village elders to step forward, the digital elders to step forward and start sharing their knowledge in a way that's meaningful and in a way that's skill-based outcome. And using a sort of multi media platform for kids to learn. So we're all about hands-on, learn by doing, learn through play. There's just, there's so many things that we could be doing, but in order to build that, we need to come together.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
What's the goal? I mean, like it doesn't sound like you've been doing this a really, really long time, but you've actually achieved like I have so much in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
So considering what you've achieved in this time frame, what's the goal in a larger time frame?
The goal is to have all children gaining proper access to 21st century skill sets that they need, the education that they need to become the drivers of technology. And we're talking not just in Germany, but all over the world, because coding is the language of innovation. And we live now in a world that is no longer sustainable. And everybody's talking about it, and they're all trying to scramble to find out what's the solution. Well, for me, the fundamental solution is education, because your nation is only as good as the kind of education you put into your kids. So when we're looking at statistics like 0.003% of the world's population are currently computer literate, this is a big problem. Technology has the innovation and has the capacity to do things like clean up the planet, clean the oceans, do the things that are necessary for us to proliferate as a species. And it's time to sort of come together, because digitization has erased the borders, really. It doesn't matter where you live. Here, you're from London, I'm guessing. I'm from Canada, my partner is from Germany, you know, and we're all kind of working towards one big picture. And I guess, I don't know, for whatever reason, I have the vision, and I'm super passionate about my children. I mean, the bottom line is I do this because I'm a mother, and I want to know that I've done everything in my power to correct the errors that we have made as a society, and I'm just doing my bit, and I'm asking other people to like do the same.
It's amazing that you've identified this gap in the market, and from all the points you've said, it should seem fairly obvious, but yet not enough people are doing, you know, something about it, particularly the education system. Why do you think that is? Because I couldn't agree more with you. I think the education system is stuck in the Stone Age times, and they have not changed it.
Yeah.
And we're in the 21st century, we're in a very modern environment, and children are not learning the skills that they need to. This is the digital revolution, and kids just not up to skill, up to date with what's happening. Why do you think that is?
Oh, there's several reasons. Okay, so probably the biggest one is you can't teach kids what you don't know yourself. So the reality is you're looking at somebody who grew up, right now, my generation, I don't have to tell everyone how old I am, do I? Safe to say I grew up in a generation where there were no computers and there certainly wasn't any internet. So we are the generation that's currently in power. If you look at the governments, if you look at the heads of large corporations, they're all roughly, take away the IT, the big IT companies, because that's a different story. They're a unique niche, right? The bottom line is if you go into any government, most of the people who are in decision-making places, they're illiterate themselves. So how do you, this is the first time in a very long time, since the days of the printing press, actually, this is another interesting example we could use. The day that the printing press was, from the day that it was invented to the time that the majority of people actually knew how to read and write, there was a gap of almost 300 years. Okay, so let's hope that it's not going to take that long in terms of being able to give this to our kids. But the bottom line is because very few people then knew how to read and write. Think about it. So it's the same, sort of the same situation with technology now. We just got ahead of ourselves and nobody really stopped to think about the little people. And that's really, you know, I'm here until my last breath, you know, fighting the good fight for the little people.
Well, look, fingers crossed, and I honestly wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
But we have, in fact, run out of time.
Oh,
I could talk to you about this all day.
Yeah, well, I would love to. And then actually, that's one of the reasons why I sort of came by this booth today, is because I'm hoping that there will be more and more people like you. You're a fantastic interviewer, by the way.
Thank you.
To help shine a light on an issue that is truly, truly important, and it affects every human being on the planet right now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. But you know, you should definitely come on the stream again and talk more about your business, because it's really exciting. Like I say, you've identified this gap in the market, which is so prominent now and prevalent to you know, our
where we're
future
going as a humanity, as a species.
I mean, like us, you know, we won't be here in, I say, a few years, a lot of years. But you know, the children are the future, and if we're not teaching them the right skills, then who knows?
It's pretty sad. And I can tell you from the pilot projects that we're currently doing here in a couple of public schools in Germany, it's amazing to see where their skill level is at. So we're just collecting as much information as we can in order to perfect the curriculum, because there's so many steps that they need to know that we all take for granted. For example, 10 keyboard typing, 10 finger keyboard typing. So, you know, kids in grade 2, they don't know where the letters are placed on a keyboard. So like, you know, it's got to be done.
No, absolutely. Anyway. Well, look, thank you so much, Michaela, for joining us on the stream.
Thank you.
That is all from us for now, but don't go away. We will be back after a very short break. Oh, actually, don't go anywhere. Do you have a website?
I do.
You do? Tell our audience what your website is.
www.project-gnosis, spelled G like George, N like Nancy, O, S like Sorrentino, I, S like Sorrentino.com.
Fantastic. All right, well, if you want to know more information on Michaela's fantastic Project Gnosis, then go to our website. But that is all from us for now. Don't go away. We will be back after a short break. See you in a bit.